Can you go into some examples of some like classic race reductionist policies or platforms? Maybe recent ones that have come out of this, but also historically?
Well, I guess the most recent publicized example of a kind of classic race reductionist policy proposal is the catch-all reparations discourse, right? I mean, I don't know if that's what you had in mind, since right now reparations is still kind of a catchphrase, but the insistence that again the problems that African Americans face are owed to a kind of trans-historical racism that exists apart from political economy, helped to fuel this push for reparations.
He just said it exists separate from economics. Yo, Mud, please talk about this. This is exactly the shit you was talking about in the lectual video. I'm about to play that shit for John D real quick, like 15 minutes so he can understand. Nobody's asking for this or talking about this. We do not see reparations separate from economics. Am I wrong? Am I tripping? Did I hear something?
No, the thing is that they want to like redefine what reparations actually is and what we're actually asking for as regard, or what we're actually demanding in regards to reparations. For them, they just want to make it seem just as symbolic as like
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, like representative.
Obama.
Yeah, representative politics. Like that's they don't want to actually engage with the fact that this is a policy that deals with race and economics, because then their whole argument about how we don't need to deal with race, we just need to deal with class, falls apart.
Yeah. I can't take it. Who's next? Anybody jump in next? So everyone's jump in. Go ahead, Doc. You going, or John D, you want to go? I see you smiling and shit.
Doc's got Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, this is vegan.
It's the vegan one or the gluten-free one they got?
Hey, Doc. I ain't never going vegan. I ain't never going vegan. You know why? Because every now and again, you got to do a coon hunt.
Yo, what's
Sam, I can't with you.
It's surprising. No, because I've just had this podcast for like a year and I see it. Like people like ask you like this and that. It's like, you're just like this white guy. It's just like so like it's so pervasive. So like these guys deny it and they deny it. It's like it's so real, you know? And he called reparations a catchphrase. You know, I don't know if this guy is serious or not. Like, I don't know if he's so cavalier. He's smirking, he's smiling with the interview. Like it's just like, I don't know. This show's pretty serious. Like you guys are really serious about it. Like I'm trying to be serious. Like he seems like he's calling reparations. He said it's a catchphrase, you know, like he's
it's
just
dismissive.
He seems, he seems very dismissive, just like he's playing a game. Here, I'm on a show to talk with some ladies and just kind of bash around, but I just don't know what, I'm not here. I think I'm not doing a psychoanalysis, but I don't know where his head is at. I mean, it's just like, he called it a catchphrase, you know, that's what I wrote down. It's just like, that seems like, what does he mean there? It's like, is that something you have to refute, or is that just someone says on these shows and then it gets published and it's just like
it's just dismissive as fuck, man.
Like an interviewer might stop him there. Like if you're a proper interviewer, like, oh, what do you mean by that, Mr. Reed? You know, Dr. Reed, I don't know. It's like, but it just kind of let him go. Like, so that hit me, like reparations is a catchphrase. And that's a meaningful, hell, countries all over the world are picking it up now. Germany's talking about it. Like Gambia's talking, like a lot of countries are just picking up reparations as a word, as a policy to heal and go forward. So it's not a catchphrase, it's a real deal. For ADOS, it's a real, I mean, Haiti was talking about it last week in the news about, you know, people about why it's, you know, in this state for decades. So like reparations is a serious fucking deal. If you talk to Jewish people about reparations, like, so he just kind of in the beginning of the podcast, he said, oh, it's just like a catchphrase. And I just wonder, that's 5 straw mans on my little notepad. I need another notepad, and it's 4 minutes of video.
Hey, so Johnny, like, get them out of here. Get them people out of here. I'm trying.
It's confusing to me, you know. because this is a serious thing. Right? I mean, reparations is a real deal. I mean, it's an actionable policy. I mean, do they think what they're selling is more legit? Do they think we're going to have a proletarian revolution and grab the pitchforks with I mean, what is he preaching? That's the thing. Like, what is the realistic plan in Jacobin? You scroll these videos, like, you want to talk about reactionary. I mean, it seems like reparations, more people are into it than, so I don't know. Sorry I got a little tangent there, but it seems like, I mean, it's just kind of offensive, really. I mean, just the way he's kind of brushing off reparations, but just people laughing it off. It seems just, I don't know, it seems pretty cavalier,
Imagine if he was white. Like I'm going to pull the fucking, what movie is that? A Time to Kill. I fucking love that movie. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. Sorry, forgive me. So I fucking love that movie. But remember when Matthew McConaughey listed all the shit that happened to the little black girl, and at the end he said, what if he was white? So if a white person just said what he did, there would have been a problem. If a white person would have said what the Fred Hampton leftist said in that video, it would have been a problem. If John D took his white ass out here and said this shit, y'all would crucify him like white Jesus. So quit playing with me.
Frustrating character. I mean, he's just like, he doesn't really say anything, right? But he keeps going.
But that's pretty much the game. Like, you just keep talking and talking. So you got to think, okay, John, you're kind of well versed in this, right? So when you watch this stuff, you can your ears trigger. But imagine if you're a person who didn't know anything about reparations and you're just like watching this to kind of be like, oh, well, I watch these people. These people seem like they're trustworthy.
Yeah, lefty news source. I'm going to follow a nice lefty news source after a day, click subscription. Yeah.
And a lot of these lefty news sources are propagandists, because you saw that shit when I showed you that video from Saga and I went and showed you the numbers. So, all right, let's play the rest of this one so we can get to the next clip.
Really took off in a big way a couple of years after after the publication of Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations.
I'm tired of people saying that.
Is the kind of,
that shit had nothing to do with Ta-Nehisi Coates. If I start a fire, it does not spark 2 years later. If I start a fire and it just in the woods, it doesn't spark 2 years later. That shit came from the ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery movement, which has moved into multiple groups. There's still an ADOS group. There's a Freedmen group. There's all these different groups that have come out. Reset Race is its own thing. No, it had nothing to do with him. I'm going to play the rest of it. It had nothing to do with him. Quit tying it back to him, because his ass ran off to France. And now him and Nicole Hannah-Jones came back and they want to sit at Howard and be boule.
Omnipresent example of a race reductionist set of policy proposals. I guess you can't call that a policy, though, because reparations means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So that's one that we're living with.
Mm-hmm. There's I think HR 40, is that what it's called? That's exploring the possibility of reparations in a vague way, but the intention is there. It's a heart-centered approach to oppression.
How is it heart-centered? Wait. I get that HR 40 is just a study, but they did a study for the Japanese, and that's after the study from the Japanese, they used that to get eyeballs, and then from there they got their money. So look at her just smiling and kikiing. Fuck you.
Yeah, they're not serious.
Okay, what y'all got from this before I go to the next clip? Whoever wants to go, jump in, because I don't have nothing. Fuck them.
No, I'm just saying that they're not serious. And this is actually making me a slow mad. I'm like getting pissed off slowly.
Anybody else there, Mud? Should we keep going?
Yeah, let's go.
So I guess I have a sort of more general question now, or it's a little more abstract, but during the Great Awakening, as you've called it, a lot of corporations sort of rushed forward to proclaim their opposite, or to condemn, quote, structural racism or systemic racism. And, obviously in the case of the corporations, that I think I think they specifically chose that term because it's sort of vague enough that they could condemn, structural racism while also not implicating themselves in whatever that structural racism is. But these are also terms that we hear a lot on the left, of course. And so I'm just wondering, can you give us a sort of working definition of what structural racism is? And then following from that, does it not follow that we need race-targeted solutions to combat that structural racism?
So Jen, you're trying to get me in trouble.
Before you go, hold on,
I really am.
Before you go,
yeah.
Before Adolf Jr. whatever. Before he go, man.
Toure,
because he's one to sound like
Reed Jr.
He from Louisiana.
These boule ass niggas talking about he grew up middle class. Keep going.
Oh my God.
There is no middle class nigga. Go ahead. Keep going.
Hey yo, but you seen what she did though. This is some low key, this is some smooth propaganda. She's like, yo, with the
it's not even smooth.
Waking
baby.
up in the yeah, no, it's not smooth. I mean, real. I'm talking about to the average viewer. Unless we see this bullshit, this is some bullshit. But she's saying yo, real. So you see the woke movement coming to life, and it's all about race. But but does it really solve the? Just let us. Basically, she was just trying to segue to him saying, as a black person, why doesn't race-specific policy solve these race-targeted motherfucking failures and these race-targeted problems? And he's gonna go off. This shit was disgusting, man. I don't know. That's all I got. Please, somebody go mud. Somebody say me, John D, you here? I know John D watched the video, so I know you ready. I know Dr. J ready. What's up? I'm about to take a nap. I'm tired. This is some bullshit. So.
All right, who wants to go next?
No, John's right. She's setting him up just to kind of, I don't know why they think this works, where you could tell someone there's a race problem and that somehow we don't need to target race to solve the problem. But they're gonna try to do it. They're gonna try to talk their way out of actually being specific about race, even though they know this is a racial problem.
I think when Kamala Harris, gets asked really tough questions, she does the laugh. And I was I was listening to a show that was kind of doing an analysis of that, and they basically said if you're bantering with your buddies and somebody says something crazy, you could laugh it off, but at a high level, if you're talking about something important that's not even really an appropriate response. You have to at least leverage a response. You at least have to give a response. So I don't know if all this laughing that they're doing,
bitch is a psychopath.
Yeah, it seems like there's something going on that I'm not qualified to talk, but there's a laughing going on. There's a dismissive, and I think Dr. J said they're not serious for sure. But I think that response usually hides that they know that they're bullshit. They know that they're on the wrong side here, but I guess for some reason they feel a need to play into a political perspective for I guess, but there's just a lot of laughter, and it's and I'm getting that thing. When you ask the vice president, Kamala Harris, a tough question, even if it's not an offensive question, she will just kind of do the laugh and then laugh and laugh and laugh. And that's an interesting psychosomatic response, I think. And you know how people always analyze the body language of the president, what they wear and all this shit. So one of those commentators was just talking about why she was laughing. And I'm thinking about that, this Jen Pan over here and Arietta Thornhill and Toure Reed, they just seem very jovial here.
Psychopaths. It's some psychopathic shit. You gotta understand, a lot of Americans are psychopaths. I read a whole book about how boomers are sociopaths. There's a whole book.
I need that because I had a fucking family reunion last month. And I can't handle the boomer anymore.
I'm gonna send you the link. I'm gonna send you the link. I read it last year.
I need to figure them out because I also feel like I'm losing my parents. My parents retired and they moved to fucking Arizona, and I feel like I'm losing them. They got that boomer spirit, and that's the voter, and a lot of those voters are a lot of those people voted for Biden, so it's those boomers run the country.
We're fucked. Yeah, we're
the
fucked.
Boomers run the country. I think so.
At least for a little bit longer. Then when you fuckers
die. How much longer?
I don't know.
How much longer do you think the boomers got? I mean, they seem pretty healthy. You see 75-year-old boomers on doing pull-ups and
But John, I know you didn't have time. John D, I know you didn't have time to watch our whole 7 hours. But you know, I'm giving middle class whites the side eye, minus you and a handful of others. But because of the fact that y'all are getting this fucking great rail transfer. So I don't know how to feel these days about everything that's coming down the pike. But it's just awful. This was awful. I'm done with these people. But anybody else have anything before we keep going through? Because this is like 7 more minutes and I have a feeling they're going to piss me off. And I have a lot to say about stuff they have to say further down the line.
Let's get to it.